She always thought she was smarter than me. Olivia had built an entire life on manipulation, crafting a perfect image while sneaking behind my back, assuming I would never catch on. I had been blind for too long, trusting, believing that she was the woman I married. But when I found out, I didn't confront her. I didn't yell or demand answers. No, I played it smart. I played it better. It started when I saw the messages. She had been careless, leaving her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't even looking for anything. I had just been reaching for my keys. But the screen lit up, and there it was. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My blood ran cold. The name? Just a letter. D. But I didn't need more than that. I knew. I could have confronted her then, could have thrown the phone in her face and demanded an explanation. But I didn't. Instead, I put it back exactly how I found it. I made sure she never knew I saw anything. Because now, I had a plan. Step 1. Gather proof. I wasn't going to be one of those men who got played, who let his cheating wife cry her way out of the consequences. No, I wanted undeniable evidence. I installed a message cloning app on her phone while she was sleeping, syncing everything straight to my laptop. Every text, every photo, every location. It was all mine now. Step 2. Get close to someone she trusted. Someone who would never suspect me. Her best friend, Emily. Olivia had spent years telling me Emily was like a sister to her, the one person she confided in about everything. But what Olivia didn't know was that Emily and I had always had undeniable chemistry. There had been looks, moments, unspoken tension. And now, I was going to use it. It started small. Casual conversations, jokes, compliments. Emily didn't suspect anything at first. She was just being friendly. But I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly what buttons to press. Olivia was too busy sneaking around with her secret lover to notice that her best friend was slowly falling for me. Step 3. Expose Olivia in the most humiliating way possible. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about destroying her, making sure she lost everything the way she thought she could do to me. The night of our wedding anniversary, I had everything in place. Olivia had no idea that I had been tracking her affair for months. No idea that while she was sneaking around, her best friend was falling into my arms. No idea that tonight, her world was about to collapse. Emily never saw it coming. At first, she just thought I was being extra friendly, more engaged in conversation, more interested in her life. Olivia had been so wrapped up in her affair that she barely noticed how often Emily and I were texting, how I was making small, deliberate moves to get closer. I played it carefully, nothing too obvious, nothing that would make her suspicious. But I knew how to make a woman feel special, how to give just enough attention to make her wonder what if. And it worked. It started with small things. Casual compliments. Jokes that felt a little more personal. If Olivia was texting her lover, I was texting Emily. If Olivia was sneaking out to meet D, I was finding excuses to see Emily. At first, she thought nothing of it. We were just two people venting about life, about relationships, about things we couldn't say to anyone else. But over time, I noticed the shift. The way her texts became longer, more frequent. The way her voice softened when she spoke to me. The way she started opening up, telling me things about Olivia that even I didn't know. Turns out, Olivia had been lying to Emily too. That was the real twist. Olivia had kept secrets from everyone, not just me. She had been manipulating Emily the same way she had been manipulating me. Telling her one thing, doing another, making promises she had no intention of keeping. I didn't even have to convince Emily to turn on her. Olivia did that all on her own. One night, I called Emily just to talk. I kept my voice low, casual, pretending like nothing had changed. But I knew everything had changed. I asked her how she was doing. She hesitated before saying, "Honestly, I don't even know why I'm still friends with Olivia sometimes." That was the moment I knew I had her. From then on, I accelerated the plan. I made sure Olivia had no idea. She was too confident, too wrapped up in her double life to notice that the cracks were forming beneath her feet. While she was sneaking off to her little hotel meetups, I was laying the foundation for my own affair, right under her nose. It wasn't just about sleeping with Emily. No, that would have been too simple. I wanted Olivia to feel it, to watch her best friend turn against her, to realize she wasn't the only one capable of betrayal. I started inviting Emily over when I knew Olivia would be working late. I'd pour us drinks, let the conversation flow, and every time she got a little more comfortable, a little closer. I didn't make a move right away. No, I let her be the one to cross the line first. And eventually, she did. One night, after Olivia had just texted her usual excuse about staying late, Emily looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "Do you ever feel like she takes you for granted?" I smiled, tilting my head. "Every single day." She exhaled, shaking her head. "She doesn't deserve you." And then, she kissed me. It was soft at first, hesitant, like she was testing the waters. But when I didn't pull away, when I let her feel what Olivia had thrown away, she deepened the kiss, pressing closer, her fingers tangling in my hair. It was exactly what I had been waiting for. I let her pull away first, her breathing uneven, her eyes wide with realization. I shouldn't have done that," she whispered. I ran a hand down her arm, smirking slightly. "Then why did it feel so right?" She swallowed, looking away. "Because maybe it is." I didn't push further that night. I let her go home, let her think about it, let the guilt and desire consume her. I knew she would be back, and she was. The next time she came over, she didn't hesitate. By now, Olivia was completely oblivious. She was too busy keeping up with her lies, sneaking around with spinning her web of deceit. She had no idea that her best friend was falling into my bed. And then, the final part of my plan fell into place. Olivia was so comfortable in her betrayal that she barely even tried to cover her tracks anymore. She was always working late, always too tired when she got home. I barely even had to pretend to care anymore. And she didn't notice. Until the night before our anniversary. We were sitting in the living room, both on our phones. She was smiling at her screen, texting her lover, completely unaware that I was watching everything. She had no idea that I already knew she was planning to spend our anniversary with him. She had no idea that while she was sneaking off to be with I had planned something better. I had invited Emily over. And tomorrow night, when Olivia was with her lover, Emily would be in our bed. This wasn't just revenge. This was war. The day of our anniversary started like any other. Olivia woke up, stretched, and gave me a lazy smile, acting like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't about to spend our special day in another man's bed. I played my part perfectly, kissing her on the forehead, asking if she had any plans for the evening. She hesitated for only a fraction of a second before lying straight to my face. "Work is killing me this week. I might have to stay late, but I'll make it up to you this weekend, I promise." She even had the audacity to look apologetic, reaching for my hand, squeezing it like she actually cared. I smiled and nodded, pretending to be disappointed, pretending to believe her, pretending like I didn't already know exactly where she would be tonight. I watched her get dressed in front of the mirror, choosing a dress that was just a little too nice for a long night at the office, spritzing on the perfume she only wore when she wanted to feel desired. She caught me looking and smirked. "What?" I just shook my head, letting a small, sad smile cross my lips. "Nothing. You look beautiful." She blushed, pleased with herself, not realizing the real reason I was smiling. By lunchtime, she had already texted him. "I can't wait to see you tonight. I'll leave right after work. Same place?" His response was immediate. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, baby." I clenched my jaw but kept my cool. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Because while she was texting her lover, Emily was texting me. Tonight? A simple question, but we both knew what it meant. "Tonight," I responded. I spent the afternoon preparing, making sure every detail was perfect. Fresh sheets, candles, a bottle of wine. I wanted Olivia to come home and see everything. I wanted her to walk in, expecting a quiet house, only to find her best friend in my bed. At 6:30, Olivia kissed me goodbye. "Don't wait up," she whispered, her voice soft and convincing. I smiled, tucking her hair behind her ear. "Wouldn't dream of it." She laughed, thinking she had gotten away with it again, thinking she was still in control. She had no idea that tonight would be the last time she ever felt like the winner. The moment she was gone, I called Emily. Come over. She didn't hesitate. She had already been waiting, already second-guessing herself, already falling apart over what we were about to do. But the moment she stepped inside, she knew there was no turning back. It started slow. A drink. A long conversation. The tension so thick between us that neither of us could pretend it wasn't there. Are we really doing this? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I took the glass from her hands, setting it aside before cupping her face. We already did, I murmured before kissing her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't reckless. It was deliberate, built on months of stolen glances, late-night texts, quiet confessions. Emily wasn't just Olivia's best friend anymore. She was mine. We didn't stop. Not when clothes hit the floor. Not when we moved to the bedroom. Not when I pulled the sheets over us, tangling myself in the warmth of her body, in the heat of the ultimate betrayal. And just as we lay there, breathless, the room still buzzing from what we had done, the front door clicked open. Olivia was home. The sound of the front door clicking open sent a shiver of satisfaction through me. Olivia was home, and she had no idea what was waiting for her. Emily tensed beneath me, her breath catching as she realized what was about to happen, but I didn't move. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't scrambling for excuses like Olivia had done for the past year. No, I wanted her to see this. I wanted her to feel it. The way I had felt every time she had come home to me after being with him, kissing me with the same lips that had just whispered someone else's name. The way she had smiled, laughed, held my hand, all while knowing she had betrayed me hours before. She had done it so effortlessly. Now it was my turn. Her footsteps were slow at first, the sound of her heels clicking against the floor as she walked toward the kitchen, probably expecting an empty house. She had told me not to wait up, after all. I could picture her in my head, taking off her coat, scrolling through her phone, maybe even texting him to tell him how much she had enjoyed tonight. And then, she stopped. She must have seen the trail of clothes. Emily's heels in the hallway, the jacket draped over the chair, the glass of wine still half full on the counter. A pause, then a sharp intake of breath. And then, the footsteps again, this time faster, more urgent, heading straight for the bedroom. She knew. She knew. The door swung open, and there she was, standing in the doorway, eyes wide, breath shallow, face frozen in shock as she took in the scene in front of her. Me, lying in our bed, sheets barely covering me, Emily curled up beside me, her bare skin illuminated by the dim glow of the bedside lamp. For the first time since this all started, Olivia was speechless. I smirked, sitting up slightly, stretching as if she had just woken me up. "Oh, hey," I said casually, as if she hadn't just walked in on the ultimate betrayal. Emily tensed beside me, but she didn't move, didn't cover herself, didn't run. Olivia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She was frozen, processing, trying to make sense of something that had no explanation. Finally, she found her voice. "What the fuck is this?" I leaned back against the headboard, completely relaxed. "This?" I gestured to Emily, who was watching Olivia with wide eyes, waiting to see how this would play out. "This is what it feels like to be you." Her eyes flickered between us, pure disbelief and rage flashing across her face. "You," she pointed at me, her hand shaking, then turned to Emily. "And you?" Her voice cracked on the last word, her whole body trembling. "How could you?" Emily swallowed hard, but I answered before she could. "Oh, you don't get to be angry, Olivia. Not after what you've done." Her breathing was uneven now, her fists clenching at her sides. "What the hell are you talking about?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "Come on, don't insult me. Do you really think I didn't know? You've been fucking someone else for over a year." Her entire body stiffened. That was the moment she realized. The moment it hit her that she wasn't the only one who had secrets. That I had been watching. That I had known everything. Her face paled. I didn't let her finish. "Save it. I've seen the texts. I know about the hotels. I know about every single time you came home to me after being with him. I know everything." She took a step back like she had been physically hit. Her mouth opened again, but she had nothing. No excuses. No lies. No way to twist this in her favor. She lost. I tilted my head, studying her, enjoying the way she looked so small now, so powerless. So, tell me, Olivia, how does it feel? To walk in on the person you love in bed with someone else? To know they were never really yours? She flinched. Emily finally moved, sitting up, pulling the sheets around her. Olivia, But Olivia didn't let her speak. Her head snapped toward her, eyes blazing. You betrayed me. Her voice was shaking with pure, unfiltered rage. Emily held her ground, but her voice was small. You betrayed him first. That was it. That was the moment the reality of everything crashed down on her. She had no moral high ground, no power, no control. For the first time, she was the one who had to suffer. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Her hands clenched into fists, but she didn't say another word. She just turned and walked out. And I smiled. Olivia stormed out of the bedroom, her footsteps heavy against the hardwood floor, each step a desperate attempt to hold onto the last shreds of dignity she had left. But she had none. Not anymore. Not after tonight. I heard her muttering curses under her breath, her hands shaking as she grabbed her coat from the chair. Emily sat frozen in bed beside me, the sheets clutched against her chest, her breathing uneven. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She was waiting to see if I would stop Olivia, if I would chase after her, if I still cared enough to salvage anything. But I didn't. I stayed exactly where I was. Olivia made it to the front door before she stopped, her body trembling, shoulders rising and falling as she struggled to compose herself. She turned slowly, her eyes locking onto mine with something between fury and heartbreak, as if she was still trying to understand how she had lost. You think this makes us even? She spat, her voice dripping with bitterness. You think fucking my best friend makes you the good guy here? I smirked, leaning back against the headboard, my arms crossed over my chest, completely at ease. No, Olivia, I said, my voice calm, steady. I don't think it makes me the good guy, but it makes me the winner. Her nostrils flared, her hands curling into fists. She looked like she wanted to scream, to throw something, to do anything to hurt me back. But she couldn't. She had already lost. You're a piece of shit, she hissed. I shrugged. Says the woman who spent the last year screwing another man behind my back. Pot. Meat kettle. Her face twisted in rage, but she had nothing left to say. Nothing she could say. She knew that no matter what excuse she tried to throw at me, no matter how much she wanted to spin this in her favor, it wouldn't change what had happened. She had spent months thinking she was in control, thinking she had me fooled, thinking she would get away with it. And now, she was standing in our home, realizing that the joke had always been on her. Emily shifted beside me, finally breaking the silence. Olivia, Don't, Olivia snapped, her eyes burning into her. Just don't. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head, her voice dripping with venom. I hope you know that this won't last. He's just using you to get back at me. Emily's expression wavered, doubt flickering behind her eyes, but I cut in before Olivia could plant the seed she was trying to. You mean the way you used Dee? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Olivia froze, her jaw tightening. I smiled. Yeah, that's what I thought. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, some final parting shot to regain even a shred of control, but she had nothing. No excuses. No defense. No way out. Just humiliation. She turned and grabbed the doorknob. I waited for it, the final moment, the last blow. Just as she was about to walk out, I spoke, my voice slow, deliberate. By the way, Olivia, I said casually. She hesitated, her grip tightening on the doorframe. Your boy Dee? His wife knows everything. She has all the messages. Every text. Every hotel receipt. I leaned forward, my smirk widening. You might want to check your phone. She's been blowing it up all night. Her whole body went rigid. I could see it. The way her mind raced, the way her stomach dropped, the way she realized that not only had she lost me, but she had just lost him too. Her hand shook as she pulled her phone out of her coat pocket. The screen lit up. Missed calls. Dozens of messages. Her face drained of color. And then, She was gone. The door slammed behind her, the sound of her footsteps fading into the night. And just like that, Olivia was nothing. Emily sat stiffly beside me, her fingers gripping the sheets, her expression unreadable. That was, she exhaled slowly, brutal. I smirked, running a hand through my hair, finally feeling the weight of it all lift off my shoulders. She deserved worse. Emily didn't argue. She just stared at the closed door, as if she couldn't quite believe what had just happened. Neither could I, honestly. But one thing was clear. Olivia was finally out of my life. And I had one. Olivia thought walking away was the end, that slamming the door would somehow erase everything. But she had no idea that I wasn't done with her yet. She had spent months lying, sneaking around, playing games with my life, and I wasn't about to let her walk away thinking she still had any control left. She had built her little affair on the belief that I was clueless, that I would never find out, that she would get to move on without consequences, but she was wrong. The real consequences were just beginning. The next morning, I checked my phone and saw what I expected. Olivia had called me 3 times in the middle of the night, left 2 voicemails, and sent a string of messages, her panic pouring through the screen. She had finally checked her phone, finally seen the destruction that was waiting for her. Her lover's wife had gone nuclear, exposing everything, and now Olivia was caught in the crossfire. I played the first voicemail, letting her shaky voice spill through the speaker. "James, please, you don't have to do this. I don't know what you told her, but it's ruining my life. Just please call me back." I smirked, deleting the message without responding. I played the second one, and this time, she sounded angrier, more desperate. "So this is how you want to play it? Fine. You think you won? You think I don't have anything left? Just wait." I laughed because that was the funniest thing she could have said. She had nothing left. I had taken everything, and she was only just starting to realize it. I opened the text messages, scrolling through her failed attempts at damage control. "You don't have to do this. Why are you trying to destroy me? You already got what you wanted. Why are you still doing this? Answer me, James. Please." She was unraveling, and I was enjoying every second of it. But I wasn't done. Olivia had spent so long manipulating people, twisting stories, convincing everyone that she was the perfect wife, the perfect friend, the victim whenever it suited her. Now, she was the one exposed. She had always been so sure she could keep everything separate, her affair in one hand, her marriage in the other, like she could balance both lives forever. But she wasn't balancing anything now. She was falling. Hard. I got a call from Emily around noon, and I could hear the guilt in her voice before she even spoke. She showed up at my place. I smiled. Of course she did. And Emily sighed, clearly exhausted. She lost it. Screaming, crying, saying I ruined everything. Saying you ruined everything. That you're trying to ruin her life on purpose. I chuckled. She's not wrong. Emily hesitated. "James, I don't know. I feel bad." I leaned back, taking a sip of my coffee, amused at the hesitation in her voice. "Bad? For her?" Emily groaned. "I know she deserves this, but it's hard to see her like that." She looked broken. I exhaled sharply. "Good." Emily was quiet for a long moment, and I could almost hear her thinking, trying to justify everything to herself. "She's not handling it well," she finally admitted. "She has nowhere to go, no one to turn to." I smiled to myself. Then she should have thought about that before she cheated. Emily sighed, but she didn't argue, and that told me everything I needed to know. She was still caught in the middle, still unsure if she had really picked the right side. But it didn't matter. The damage was done, and there was no undoing it. Olivia had betrayed both of us, and now she was paying for it. Later that night, I got another text from Olivia, one last attempt at getting a reaction out of me. "I hope you're happy. I lost my job today." I raised an eyebrow, rereading the message, enjoying the weight of those words. I hadn't even been the one to do it. Her own actions had finally caught up with her. I had exposed her affair publicly, but it was her behavior at work that had made them fire her. She had spent too much time sneaking around, taking long meetings, making careless mistakes because she was distracted, and now it had finally come back to bite her. I could almost hear her voice, shaking, trying to make me feel bad for her, but I didn't. I just texted back, "Good." She didn't reply. I knew what she wanted. She wanted me to feel something, to show even a fraction of the pain she was feeling, to let her believe that maybe, just maybe, she still had some power over me. But she didn't. She had lost that the moment I found out about her affair. She had lost that the moment she walked into our bedroom and found Emily in our bed. I wasn't playing her game anymore. I was writing the ending. And this was only the beginning. Olivia thought she had nothing left to lose, but she was wrong. She had spent years believing she could play her little games, lie to my face, sneak around behind my back, and never face the consequences. But she had never expected to lose her job, her reputation, and her best friend all in the span of a few days. And the best part? I wasn't done with her yet. She still had one thing left, one last piece of stability that she was clinging to with everything she had, and I was going to rip it away just like she had ripped our marriage apart. She had always relied on her family as a safety net. No matter how reckless she was, no matter how many times she messed up, they always took her side, always made excuses for her. They saw her as the golden child, the responsible one, the one who could do no wrong. But they didn't know what I knew. They didn't know who she really was. So I made sure they found out. I sent them everything. The texts, the emails, the proof of her affair, the hotel bookings, the screenshots of her conversations with Emily, where she mocked me, called me pathetic for never realizing she was cheating. I didn't add a single word of my own. I let her own words destroy her. It didn't take long before she called me, her voice shaking with panic. "James, what the hell did you do?" I smirked, leaning back in my chair. "Oh, so you finally checked your phone?" She let out a strangled breath. "You sent them everything? Everything?" I stayed silent, letting her process it, letting her mind race with the realization that her parents, her siblings, her entire family now knew exactly what kind of woman she really was. She swallowed hard, her breath unsteady. "They won't talk to me." She sounded small, weak, a far cry from the confident, smug woman who had spent the last year lying to my face. "My dad, he said I embarrassed the family. My mom won't even pick up my calls." Her voice cracked. "Why would you do this?" I laughed. "Why? Because you deserve it." She sucked in a shaky breath, but she had no comeback, no excuse, no way out. She was drowning in the mess she had created, and there was no one left to save her. I wasn't finished. Olivia had spent so much time focusing on her affair that she had never even realized how deeply I had embedded myself into every aspect of her life. Our finances? Mostly in my name. The apartment she had been staying in since she left? Mine. The car she was driving? Leased under me. She had always depended on me, always taken for granted that I would be there, that I would take care of everything while she played her little games. But not anymore. I called the bank and froze the joint account. She had nothing in her personal savings, nothing to fall back on. I called the leasing company and had the car repossessed. I gave the landlord notice that she was no longer allowed in the apartment, effective immediately. And just like that, Olivia was homeless, broke, and completely alone. She showed up at my door that night, pounding on it, her voice raw. "James, please, just talk to me." I let her bang on the door a few more times before finally opening it, leaning against the frame with a smirk. "Something wrong?" She looked like a wreck. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smudged, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "You can't just take everything from me," she choked out. "I have nowhere to go." I tilted my head. "Sounds familiar. Kind of like how you took everything from me when you decided to cheat." She shook her head furiously, her hands clenching into fists. "I get it, okay? I screwed up, but you've already destroyed my life. What more do you want?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to wake up every day knowing that you lost everything because of your own choices." Her breath hitched. "James." I leaned in, just close enough that she could hear every word. "And the best part? I don't feel anything for you anymore." Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't care. I stepped back, keeping my expression cold. "Now get the hell off my property." She hesitated for a second, as if she was still clinging to some hope that I would change my mind, that I would soften, but I didn't. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. She had spent years thinking she could play me. Now, she was the one left with nothing, and I had one. Olivia thought she could move on, thought she could find a way to rebuild after everything, thought she could escape what I had done to her. But she hadn't realized. Her suffering was only just beginning. I had stripped away everything she relied on. Her job? Gone. Her reputation? Shattered. Her friends? They had abandoned her. Even her family had turned their backs, ashamed of the disgrace she had become. But she still had one thing left. The belief that eventually she would recover, that she would land on her feet, that she would start over. And I wasn't about to let that happen. I kept tabs on her, not because I cared, but because I wanted to see just how deep she would sink. And she was sinking fast. Word spread about what she had done. No one wanted to hire her. No one wanted to be associated with her. The cheating wife who got exposed in the worst way possible. Every job application she sent out? Rejected. Every attempt to reconnect with old friends? Ignored. She had burned every bridge, and now she was drowning in the wreckage. One night, Emily called me, hesitation in her voice. "She's not doing well, James." I smirked, swirling my drink in my hand. "And?" Emily exhaled, clearly torn. "I saw her today. She looks bad. She's lost weight. She's barely holding it together." I leaned back, uninterested. "Not my problem." Emily hesitated. "I know, but don't you think she's suffered enough?" I laughed. "No, she hasn't." Olivia had spent years lying to me, manipulating me, sneaking around behind my back and thinking she would get away with it. She had taken my trust and torn it apart, and she had done it with a smile. She had no remorse when she was lying to my face, no guilt when she was coming home from another man's bed, no hesitation when she was mocking me to her friends, bragging about how easy it was to keep me in the dark. And now, she wanted mercy? No, she didn't get to play the victim now. I saw her again by accident, a few weeks later. She was sitting alone in a coffee shop, staring at nothing, a half-empty cup in front of her. She looked exhausted, drained of the confidence she once had, like a ghost of the woman I used to know. I didn't approach her. I didn't speak. I just watched for a moment, taking in the sight of her completely broken, completely ruined, completely alone. And then I walked away, because Olivia was nothing now, and I had one. Olivia had lost everything, but I wasn't looking back anymore. She was nothing more than a mistake, a stain on my past that I had erased. For the first time in years, I was free. No more lies. No more second-guessing every word, every late-night excuse. No more pretending to be the loving husband while she played her little games. I had one, and now it was time to start a new life, without her. I rebuilt fast. I moved into a new place, somewhere that didn't have memories of her infecting every corner. I changed my number, cut off anyone who still had ties to her. I threw myself into work, hit the gym harder than ever, reconnected with old friends. And it felt good, like I was finally living again instead of just existing under the weight of her betrayal. One night, I went out with some friends, something I hadn't done in years, not since before Olivia had started making excuses to stay home while she was sneaking around. I was sitting at the bar, laughing, actually enjoying myself for the first time in forever, when I noticed her. Not Olivia. Someone new. She was sitting a few seats away, completely unbothered by the noise, sipping a drink, flipping through a book. Something about her was different. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't playing games. She looked real. She glanced up and caught me staring. Instead of looking away, she smirked. And just like that, I knew. It was time. Time to move forward. Time to finally let go. Olivia had taken years from me, but she hadn't destroyed me. She had lost. And I had one.